No, we don't have an effective foreign policy at all. Our diplomatic capacity is absolutely almost non-existent. The president himself relies on ad hoc friends and friends of the family to be official or unofficial envoys. We don't have a diplomatic corps that is stable. We just had the senior U.S. Diplomat in Denmark summoned because of U.S. meddling in Greenland, which is quite apparent, where Trump says he wants Greenland, even though it's a part of Denmark, and he doesn't rule out any options to take it. Denmark is not exactly an enemy of the United States traditionally. It's part of NATO, it's part of a U.S. alliance, but it is completely vulnerable to and at odds with the United States right now. We simply don't have diplomacy. Everything is utterly ad hoc. Terrible mistakes are being made, really shocking mistakes, even from the narrowest U.S. interest point of view. For example, within the past 2 weeks, Donald Trump, for no reason at all, has completely alienated the government of India and the people of India by putting a so-called penalty 25% tariff on India for importing Russian oil when Europe imports Russian gas, China imports Russian oil. But India was the one that suddenly faced this punitive action. And I can only tell you the depth of anger, resentment, feeling of betrayal that is pervasive in Indian intellectual circles and beyond, for a move that has no sense and no consequence. So it's really an ad hoc situation where America's role in the world is in a downward spiral.
You just heard Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, economist, Columbia professor, and one of the few voices inside the American elite willing to speak truth, deliver a devastating diagnosis. We don't have an effective foreign policy at all. And he's not exaggerating. The U.S. doesn't have a diplomatic strategy. It doesn't have a stable diplomatic corps. It doesn't even have basic respect for its allies. Instead, it has ad hoc decisions, family friends as envoys, random tariffs, and public threats to seize foreign territory. This isn't leadership. This is geopolitical chaos. And the world is watching, not in fear, but in disbelief. Let's unpack what Sachs said and why this moment reveals the complete collapse of American credibility. Sachs starts with a hard truth. Our diplomatic capacity is almost non-existent. That's not just criticism. That's reality. Gone are the days of seasoned diplomats like George Kennan, Henry Kissinger, or Richard Holbrooke. Today, U.S. foreign policy is run by Trump's personal friends, relatives, loyalists with no experience, and ideologues with no accountability. There's no continuity, no institutional memory, no long-term vision, just impulse. And the result? America is alienating allies for no reason. Sachs highlights one of the most absurd episodes in recent memory. Trump wants to buy or take Greenland. And when Denmark, a longtime NATO ally, said no, the U.S. summoned its senior diplomat in Copenhagen, not to apologize, but to pressure them. Let that sink in. The United States, a nuclear superpower, is bullying a peaceful Nordic democracy over a piece of Arctic land. And Trump doesn't rule out any options, a thinly veiled threat of force. But Greenland isn't just Danish territory. It's part of a friendly alliance. Denmark hosts U.S. military bases. It supports NATO. It's not a rival. It's not a threat. And yet, the U.S. treats it like one. Why? Because Trump sees foreign policy as real estate negotiation, not diplomacy. And that's not just childish. It's dangerous. Because when a superpower starts treating allies like enemies, the world starts to wonder, who's next? Then Sachs drops an even bigger bombshell. Trump slapped a 25% penalty tariff on India for buying Russian oil. Let that sink in. Europe buys Russian gas and faces no consequences. China buys Russian oil and no one says a word. But India, a strategic partner trying to balance relations with Russia, the US, and the global South, gets punished. And why? No reason at all. As Sachs says, it's a move that has no sense and no consequence, except to humiliate a major democratic nation. And the backlash in India has been massive. Intellectuals, analysts, even ordinary citizens are asking, why is the US doing this to us? Because India isn't some rogue state. It's a counterweight to China, a democracy, a rising power. And instead of courting it, the US slaps it with a punitive tariff for doing exactly what Europe and China do. That's not foreign policy. That's self-sabotage. Sachs points to a deeper truth. This isn't just about Greenland or India. It's about America's role in the world. And right now, it's in free fall. Because the global South, India, Brazil, South Africa, Indonesia, is watching. They see the U.S. bullying allies, making up policy on the fly, punishing friends while ignoring real violators, and treating diplomacy like a reality TV show. And they're asking, why should we align with a country that can't be trusted? Because if the U.S. turns on Denmark or India, what chance does anyone else have? Sachs doesn't hold back. America's role in the world is in a downward spiral. And he's right. Every reckless move, every ad hoc decision, chips away at U.S. credibility. And the consequences are real. Allies hesitate to cooperate. Partners seek alternatives. BRICS grows stronger. New financial systems emerge. The dollar's dominance weakens. And worst of all, there's no one in Washington who cares. Because the White House isn't thinking about long-term strategy. It's thinking about headlines, ratings, and election polls. And that's not how superpowers survive. They survive through consistency, trust, and diplomatic strength. And the U.S. has none of it. In conclusion, Dr. Jeffrey Sachs gives us a rare and unfiltered look at the real state of U.S. foreign policy today. Not strength, not leadership, but chaos, arrogance, and self-destruction. The U.S. no longer has allies. It has targets. It no longer has diplomacy. It has threats. And it no longer has respect. It has resentment from friends, partners, and even its closest allies. Until this changes, America won't lead the world. It will only isolate itself. Stay tuned for more analysis right here on The Informed Perspective. Until next time, stay informed and think critically.
Glenn, when the Cold War ends and we, the United States, end up as the unipole, we're the only great power on the planet. So we do not have to worry about realist logic. We do not have to worry about the balance of power. The United States is free to act according to the dictates of liberalism, which we do. And many people are arguing, including President Clinton, that realism is no longer relevant for understanding international politics. So when we begin to expand eastward toward Ukraine, we believe that realpolitik is dead and that we are a benign liberal hegemon. I cannot tell you how many times I have heard important people in the foreign policy establishment say that Russia had nothing to fear from NATO expansion because we were a liberal and benign hegemon. Mike McFaul has told me that he told Putin this on a number of occasions, and I believe that Mike McFaul believed this. The problem is that from a Russian point of view, the world was being viewed through realist lenses. From a Russian point of view, the United States was a behemoth. It ran an alliance that had been a mortal enemy during the Cold War, and the United States was marching that alliance up to Russia's doorsteps. From a Russian point of view, this was all seen through realist lenses. From an American point of view, realism is dead, and it was seen from a liberal perspective. So you had this real clash of, let's call them ideologies for lack of a better term. You had this real clash of ideologies or worldviews that was destined to lead to huge trouble.